There are some stories that are just funny, and this one's just funny. It's about Dungeons and Dragons. In fact, it's from the Dungeons and Dragons people. Oh, well, they're all about diversity of strength. Well, it is, and that's true. And I played Dungeons and Dragons back in the 80s and early 90s, and we didn't seem to have that much problem with diversity. We had black people playing, and we had, women playing with it. We had all sorts of people playing. But apparently this has become a problem in recent years, because it says only a diverse group of adventurers may overcome the challenges a D&D story presents, but they think they haven't done really so much of a job at that. Of course, this isn't apparently about what the DM is doing and about what the players are doing. No, this is all up to them. So, one of the explicit design goals of the 5th edition D&D is to depict humanity in all its beautiful diversity. Well, of course it's not just humanity, is it? Because there's elves and orcs and everything else. So they've got all of these non-human species there. But they want to depict characters with an array of ethnicities, gender identities, sexual orientations, and beliefs, and I am absolutely 100% behind that. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's not my problem with this article. And it says human in D&D means everyone, not just fantasy versions of Northern Europeans. It is based on the Tolkien, which, Middle Earth was supposed to be kind of a European area, which means basically, no black guys, no Asians, things like that. Those were on, lands that a lot of them, sailed off to at the end of the books. But yeah, you're focusing on medieval Europe. Of course, you're going to have a lot of white guys. Well, this is fantasy, so we can bring in all these other people if we want to, and I got no problem with that. Here's the problem. It says, throughout the 50-year history of D&D, some of the peoples in the game have been characterized as monstrous and evil. Well, that sounds terrible until you realize that they're talking about orcs and drow. Yes, they're worried about offending orcs and drow. Fictitious species that don't exist. Yeah. Right, so here's what we're doing to improve. We present orcs and drow in a new light. Not the reason they were created, which was for certain storytelling qualities and things to get adventures going and things like that. No, now orcs and drow are just as morally and culturally complex as other peoples. Well, why not just have them be humans then? What's the point of having additional species if they're not going to have their own qualities as a species? I know, because species have strengths and weaknesses. We humans have lots of weaknesses. Look at my quickies. I cover a whole bunch of cognitive deficiencies that every single one of us have. So I don't get the problem in saying, okay, we've made up a fictitious species that has these qualities. They're not even human. They're humanoid, but they're not really human. So, the whole, if you ask me, they're reducing diversity. Because all of these other races they've come up with, all these other species they've come up with, are just going to be humans with pointy ears or something. That's all they're going to be. They're not going to have their own unique qualities and flaws as their own species. So when every D&D book is reprinted, we have an opportunity to correct errors. And it says, later this year, we will release a product not yet announced that offers a way for a player to customize their character's origin. This option emphasizes that each person in the game is an individual with capabilities of their own, regardless of whether they're an elf, a dwarf, or one of D&D's many other playable folk. Well, then why have them? Why do they exist at that point? That's part of designing your character to say, okay, I'm going to play an elf, which means I'm going to start off with the natural skill sets at this basic level, and then I'll spend my character points, trying to refine the character and I mean, you can make the character a very, nuanced individual. There's nothing stopping you. But, starting with that baseline, it's really all about trying to get, like it said earlier in its own article, the value of diversity. There's a reason why, you would want an elf in your party. There's a reason why you'd want a dwarf in your party. There's a reason why you'd want a human in your party. There's a reason why you'd want all of these. Well, they're taking the reasons away. They're taking the reasons away. If they're just... I don't know. And what's this next one about Curse of Strahd? A people known as the Vistani. Regrettably, their depiction echoes some stereotypes associated with the Romani people. I don't know. We made up our own race, and yet they're sort of like this race in the real world, and that means they're racist. They should have spent more time watching Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, because that show taught you the difference between fantasy and reality. People are missing it somehow. People are missing it. We miss you, Fred Rogers. We've never needed you more than we need you today. Now they're working with a Romani consultant to find out how to portray the Vistani, a completely different race. Yeah. And it also says we've received valuable insights from sensitivity readers on 2 of our recent books. Sensitivity readers? There's such a thing as sensitivity readers? Is that like a job description? Are these people paid to sit there and read through and go, that's offensive, that's offensive, that's offensive? Okay, that was... Yeah, I wonder how much that pays. That sounds like easy money to me. And we're proactively seeking new, diverse talent to join our staff and our pool of freelance writers. Yes, you too can become a sensitivity writer. If you want to be a sensitivity writer with Dungeons and Dragons, just apply. And, of course, there's all the pandering. This part of our work will never end. We know that every day someone finds the courage to voice their truth, and we're here to listen. We are eternally grateful for the ongoing dialogue, blah, 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 blah. I think more people need to read Aesop, too. There's an Aesop fable. The moral is usually rendered as, you can't please all the people all the time, but Aesop himself, if I remember correctly, it was actually something like, if you try to please everyone, you will please no one. And the story is about a man and a boy, and they've got a mule, I think it is. And they're walking along with the mule, and a bunch of people are laughing at them because they're so stupid because they could be riding the mule instead of walking. Yeah. So the guy puts his boy on the mule, and some other people look and they go, oh, that's a selfish boy. Just lazy up there on that mule while his poor father has to walk beside him. So they swap places. And so now the father's up on the mule and the boy's down there, and they're like, oh, that horrible father, making that poor boy walk along beside him. He's just a young boy. Won't someone think of the children? So then they both ride the mule, and it's like, oh, look at what they're doing to that poor mule, overloading him. And it ends up with them. The mule is like tied up on a line on a big branch that they're carrying the mule along, and they go over the bridge and it breaks and the mule falls over into the river and dies. Yeah, bad things happen. Yeah. That's the lesson. If you try to please everyone, you'll end up pleasing no one. That's the problem with woke culture. And, that we're seeing this with so many other things. And it looks like it's going that way with Dungeons and Dragons, too. I mean, I'm not really, outraged about Dungeons and Dragons. They can do what they want. DMs can do what they want. Parties can do what they want. I just think this is really, really funny. that they're trying to do this about fictitious characters, the Vistani and orcs and drow. Well, I guess drow are black, aren't they? Yeah, because they're elves that live underground, and living underground made their skin dark. Yeah, see, they're blacks. That's racism. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's just funny to me. This one was just funny. No big points here, people, other than the Aesop fable, I guess. So, thank you so much for watching. You know the drill. Like, subscribe, the bell. You pretty much do that on all the channels you like, because who knows which ones are going to get shadow banned. I think they're just doing it randomly now. I think they're just doing it to mess with us. That's what, either that or the machine learning itself is just going crazy and is like, hey, let's see what's going to happen if I do this. Maybe it's developed a perverse sense of humor. I don't know. But either way, hit like, subscribe, and the bell. Go to donate.bogosity.tv and give what you can. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks those of you who support and continue to support. Until next time, stay strong and be free.